Welcome back to Trapped by the Clock. This is part of our full audiobook style reading, so if you missed previous chapters, be sure to check them out. Electronic logging devices weren't introduced in a vacuum. They were presented as a technological fix to an industry regulators barely understood. But what exactly were they designed to solve? And more importantly, did they actually solve it? To answer that, we need to break down how E.L.Ds function, why they were implemented, and whether the rules they enforce make sense in the unpredictable world of trucking.
Chapter 3: How E.L.Ds function and why they were implemented. How E.L.Ds work. E.L.Ds are small electronic devices that connect directly to a truck's engine control module (ECM). Their primary function is to automatically record driving hours, removing the manual process of paper logs that truckers used for decades. Here's how they operate. Automatic time tracking. E.L.Ds start recording once the truck moves at a certain speed, typically around 5 miles per hour. Driving time is logged automatically, preventing manual adjustments by drivers. HOS enforcement. The device tracks how many hours a driver has been on duty, ensuring they do not exceed federally mandated limits. It alerts drivers when they are approaching their maximum allowed hours, often forcing them to stop driving regardless of circumstances. Data storage and inspection. E.L.Ds store driving records that can be accessed by law enforcement during inspections. If a driver is found exceeding HOS limits, they can be fined or placed out of service. Location and status tracking. E.L.Ds log the truck's location at various points, such as when the engine starts or stops. The system records duty status changes, including driving, resting, or off-duty time. While this system reduces logbook falsifications, it also removes flexibility, treating all trucking situations as if they fit within a rigid, one-size-fits-all framework. Why were E.L.Ds implemented? The FMCSA introduced E.L.Ds under the claim that they would increase compliance with HOS regulations, ultimately improving road safety by reducing driver fatigue and logbook fraud. Their primary motivations were preventing overwork and fatigue. Before E.L.Ds, some drivers manipulated paper logs to drive beyond their legal hours. The FMCSA argued that E.L.Ds would eliminate this and ensure drivers got the required rest. Reducing logbook fraud. Paper logs were easy to alter, making it difficult for enforcement officers to verify actual driving hours. E.L.Ds provide a tamper-proof way to track hours. Easing compliance burdens. The FMCSA claimed that automating logging would simplify compliance for drivers and carriers. The idea was that truckers would spend less time filling out logs and more time driving legally. Improving enforcement and accountability. Law enforcement can now instantly check logs instead of sifting through handwritten records. Companies can monitor their drivers in real time to ensure compliance. While these reasons sound logical on paper, the reality on the road has proven far more complicated. Instead of improving safety and efficiency, E.L.Ds have created a rigid system that forces truckers into unsafe situations, such as driving in hazardous conditions or stopping in unsafe locations simply because the clock demands it. This chapter lays the foundation for understanding why the intended goals of E.L.Ds have not been met, leading to unintended consequences that negatively impact both truckers and public safety. In the next section, we will explore these unintended consequences in detail. 1. The 14-hour rule. A race against the clock. One of the most problematic aspects of HOS regulations is the 14-hour rule, which dictates that once a trucker starts their workday, they have 14 consecutive hours to complete all driving and non-driving duties before they must take a mandatory 10-hour break. This rigid countdown creates several issues. Unrealistic scheduling. Truckers must plan their routes around this clock, but unexpected delays, such as traffic congestion, weather, or loading-unloading holdups, eat into their driving time. Forced to drive when tired. Since the clock keeps running regardless of whether a driver is actively moving or stuck at a loading dock, many truckers push through exhaustion rather than stopping at a safer, more convenient time. No flexibility for safety. If a driver encounters bad weather, heavy traffic, or an accident ahead, they might still feel pressured to drive because stopping could mean running out of hours before reaching a safe location. 2. The 30-minute break rule. A misplaced mandate. Under current HOS rules, truckers must take a 30-minute break after 8 hours of driving, even if they don't need it. This sounds reasonable in theory, but in practice, it often causes inefficiencies and frustration. Stopping at the wrong time. Drivers may be forced to stop for a break even if they just spent an hour waiting at a loading dock, disrupting their momentum and productivity. Limited parking availability. Finding a safe place to park for a break is often difficult, and drivers may have to stop too early or too late based on available parking instead of when they actually feel tired. Breaks that feel like delays. Many truckers already take natural breaks during the day when they fuel up, grab food, or handle paperwork. The mandatory break simply adds another forced stop to an already regulated day. 3. The 70-hour workweek. Punishing hard-working truckers. HOS rules also limit truckers to 70 hours of work within an 8-day period, with a mandatory 34-hour reset before they can restart another workweek. The problem: truckers lose work opportunities. A driver who reaches their 70-hour limit on a Friday afternoon is stuck waiting until Sunday morning to resume work, losing potential income. Slow freight movement. In an industry where delivery speed is crucial, the HOS cap can create supply chain bottlenecks, forcing companies to hire additional drivers just to compensate. More time off doesn't always equal more rest. Many drivers prefer shorter, flexible breaks over the one-size-fits-all forced reset, which may not align with their natural sleep cycles. 4. The reality of trucking. Unpredictable and ever-changing. Unlike a traditional 9-to-5 job, trucking does not fit into a structured daily schedule. Delays happen every single day, often due to long wait times at shipping and receiving docks. A trucker might be held up for hours waiting for a shipment to be loaded or unloaded, eating away at their available driving hours. Traffic congestion and accidents. Unlike office workers, truckers don't control when they can move. They are at the mercy of traffic conditions, road closures, and unforeseen delays. Weather and hazardous conditions. If a snowstorm, hurricane, or severe fog rolls in, drivers should have the flexibility to adjust their schedules for safety, but the rigid HOS clock does not allow for that. 5. The stress and mental toll on drivers. The stress of trying to maximize earnings while racing against an unyielding clock takes a serious toll on drivers' mental health and well-being. Some of the biggest frustrations include feeling like a robot, not a human. E.L.Ds don't consider how a trucker actually feels, whether they're exhausted, alert, or in need of rest. The device simply enforces a countdown, leading many to feel like they're being treated as machines. Increased pressure from employers. Carriers often push drivers to optimize every minute of their clock, leading to longer workdays and stress over compliance. Lack of work-life balance. Many drivers feel that HOS rules disrupt their natural rhythms, making it harder to balance work, rest, and time with family. Next section. Why trucking is different from other industries.
On paper, these regulations might seem logical, but trucking isn't a 9-to-5 job. It's a constantly shifting, unpredictable industry where strict timing can mean the difference between safety and disaster. The problem isn't just the E.L.Ds, it's the rigid structure they enforce on an industry that thrives on flexibility. So what makes trucking different? Why can't it be treated like any other job with a fixed schedule? In the next chapter, we'll break down exactly why trucking requires a new approach and what's at stake if we fail to change the system.